Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Kerry, thank you for being here. Sir, you're unelected, and you're non-Senate confirmed bureaucrat, basically. Can you tell me what the cost of some of these climate agreements that you've gotten the American taxpayer in, how much it is going to cost them?
Well, Congressman,
Just in dollars.
the last thing I think I ever wanted to be in life was quote bureaucrat. But
Well, we all are, so, you know.
well, speak for
I don't
yourself.
trust government. I am the government, so.
Let me just say that the cost. We all committed internationally. The world committed to put $100 billion into a fund that would help these other less developed countries be able to transition. We've never actually met that full 100. We've made some commitments. I mean, I can't run through them all. There are a lot of different bits and pieces to it. But by and large, we're seeing many of those things repay themselves many times over because of the transformation of our economy. And
But can you just tell me how much it's going to cost us? Is there surely some economic?
well, the
projections,
UN
dollars and cents?
finance, you're right, and sir, the UN finance analysis suggests that it will cost trillions of dollars, maybe 2.5 to 4.5 trillion a year between now and 2050 to actually affect the full transition to a clean energy economy. But that's not spending. Most of that is calculating private sector funding that will invest in these new technologies and in these new economic opportunities. For instance, we have to build out a grid, competent grid, with smart grid, so we can balance the distribution of energy in certain places.
But you understand, though, when they invest, I mean, this money just doesn't appear.
No, you're absolutely
They're going
correct.
to charge us. I was always in the state legislature, and somebody said, well, let's just put another nickel on a can of beer. And I was like, well, they're just going to pass that on to your constituents. So, I mean, I hope you understand. Let me move on a little bit. Can you explain why you and other members of the U.S. delegation to the United Nations Climate Conference in 2021 and 2022 did not follow the President's direction to track your carbon emissions?
Yes, it's unfortunate, but they ran into problems, apparently, in how it could get measured, how it gets accrued. It should be done, and we're trying to get people to sort of bear down.
Some of those bureaucrats?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. All right. You've also agreed that countries need to pay poor and developing countries for loss and damage due to climate change. Why do the good folks in East Tennessee that work very hard for their dollars need to pay for a flood in Africa or South Asia?
Well, we're not specifically paying for a flood in South Africa, though sometimes money may go to something like that. But the United States, as I said, is proudly the largest humanitarian donor in the world. And Republican and Democrat administrations alike have historically, look at what, President George W. Bush put significant amount of money into the AIDS program in Africa. Ronald Reagan put significant amounts of money into denuclearizing and other things. I mean, we try to help the world. And you all, as the elected officials, have to balance to what degree, what's that amount going to be, and for what it's specifically going to go. But I think our country is enriched, and that our civilization is better for the fact that we do try to help people out in other places when they're in trouble. In Pakistan, when 30 million people were dislocated last year in an unprecedented flood, we put, I think, a few $100 million, I think it was ultimately, to help them recover under that.
Let me get on something else, Mr. Secretary. I apologize to you, but
that's all right.
We've said here that China is considered a developing country. That can be left for later debate. But how many American tax dollars do you intend to pay the Chinese Communist Party for climate change?
None. We're not paying them for that, and I don't think there's been one bilateral disbursement of money to China since 18 when President Trump was President of the United States.
Right.
But the Biden administration has put zero into that.
Zero. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burchett. Chair now recognizes